Hey guys, welcome to the Trooper Harbor podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Hartman, and I'm very excited about the conversation we're going to have today with my friend Brent. We have known each other since, maybe you were 4 years old and I was 9 years old, something like that. Long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, been a while. It's crazy, but and then we grew up together a little bit, and then we served on the worship team together. Um, he is an amazing musician and singer, and now he has a whole new life. So we're just going to talk about his life, and hope you find it interesting. I think it's interesting. So thanks for joining me, Brent.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having the time for me. Um, yeah, I yeah, we've known each other for a while. I mean, we were both in that homeschool group way back in the
Yeah,
day, and I think like it was me and you that were homeschooled for sure. I mean, I know my older sisters were too. That from start to finish, like from all the way through, were homeschooled.
yeah,
My brother, my youngest brother, he was the only one that did high school and then graduated from high school. So yeah,
that's right.
definitely, definitely been doing this for a while. And yeah, I was actually on a couple worship teams a little bit before I went to our church back in Gonzales, Texas, and I wasn't really that good at playing any music until I got to that church that we both went to, and uh, I learned a lot of how to play and stuff like that, and how to sing, and I still wasn't where I ever wanted to be. And I think here in the last couple of years, I've gotten a lot better at it, especially getting a lot more music knowledge
Yeah,
on this stuff. Because I kind of was just like, I'd learn a song just enough and then play that song. I didn't know how to do anything really. So it's kind of interesting to see how far that's come over the years. But
yeah,
yeah, I it's just weird how like my life is shifted from I was 18 years old playing in the worship team at church in Texas, and then like I knew then that I wanted to go join the military, but I didn't commit to it fully until I was about 20.
yeah,
And it's probably just like that, oh, I'm 2 decades old. I need to go
yeah,
do something with my life, man. And I decided when I was 20 that I wanted to join the Navy because I was between Air Force and Navy. And like I always tell people, this story is like, my mom was in for about 4 years, maybe 6 years,
in
and
the
my
Air
dad
Force,
was in
right?
yeah, in the Air Force, and then my dad was in the Navy active for only 2 years.
Okay.
But my dad had way more stories, and my
And
mom
you
has
wanted
stories
the
too. It's not to
stories.
knock that. It was like,
Yeah,
all right, that's where the life experience comes from. So
yeah,
sure, I'll do it. And when I decided to do that, it was kind of, there's been points in my life, and I'll kind of go over those a little bit as we go along, but there's been points in my life where the Lord really just kind of tells me something so intense. And it's not like a giant booming voice that comes down from the heavens that tells me something, but it's just so
yeah,
like brick to the face, absolute truth. It's time to go do this.
yeah,
And that was what it was like when it was time for me to join the Navy. And it was like, hey, this is it. And I was really freaked out. I was like, I don't know, this is really scary, like, because it's so real now.
yeah.
And it was like a couple weeks later, my mom's car was in the shop or something, and I needed to drive her to her class in San Marcos, Texas.
Mm.
But that's where the Navy recruiter is. So when I
Oh,
drove her there, I dropped her off and I was like, okay, it's time to go. So I
yeah,
went to the Navy recruiter office, walked up, and it was locked. So I was like, okay, that's no good. And
yeah,
there's my son now, yeah.
yeah,
And he probably can hear that I'm not the one that woke him up, so he's bummed out.
yeah, yeah. That's
Um,
okay.
but yeah, I walked up to the door, tried to open it, it was locked. So I started walking away, and I heard the door moving, and it was just this guy in the blue camo, and he walked out. He's like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "Hey, yeah. So I would like to join the United States Navy." And he was like, "The U.S. Navy, no other branch." And like my first couple of years in the Navy, I was like, "Yeah, I should have taken that right then and there. That was a bad sign." And yeah, but I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, man." And we walked in there, and he asked me the basic questions and stuff. We went back and forth, and then he had me take like the practice ASVAB.
Mm.
And I don't know if I was just so nervous or what, but I took it and I got like a 23.
Oh, wow.
And if you know anything about the ASVAB, that's like a terrible score.
Yeah. I mean, that's
And
kind
I
of a
was,
terrible score on anything, but yeah.
it was like, "Hey man, so if you wanted to join the Navy and you wanted to be like a cook, would that be okay with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm just ready to get out of here."
Yeah.
And he was like, "All right." And then he let me take the real one like a week later or something. And I got like a 53.
Okay.
And he was like, "Hey man, did you cheat?" I was like, "No." He went, "All right, we're gonna find out at MEPS." And then I went there later on, and then through took it, and it was like another like 50 something. He was like, "Yeah, I've never seen a jump like that before." And I was like, "I think I was
That's
just like less
funny.
nervous or something. I actually took my
Yeah,
time."
probably.
But I finally got through all the processing and everything I had to do. It was like June when I walked in the recruiting office, and it was like September when I finally was like sworn in. Delayed entry program was going to
Yeah.
ship out in May. So it was like a super long waiting period.
Yeah.
And the big thing that's creepy in waiting periods like that is you have to just like not commit to anything
Yeah.
whatsoever. Don't commit to anything, just exist and wait.
Yeah,
And
that's tough. How was that time for you?
it's very similar to what I'm going through right now, actually.
Mm.
Um, you just are waiting, and just waiting is so sometimes really kind of wears on you after a while, where you're just like, I just want something to happen already. I know there's something on
Yeah.
the horizon waiting for me, but
Yeah.
I need it to happen already because there's nothing going on right now. I feel like there's no
Yeah.
growth, there's no nothing. And I, in that waiting time, I met my wife, Michaela.
Yeah.
And that was, I even, when we started talking, I was like, "Listen, I'm not looking for anything serious. Like, I'm about to leave in like 8 months. So no."
Yeah.
But we met in like September. I think we met the day I came back, or like the day after I swore in the delay entry program. Like we met like right away,
Mm.
and she was at church, and it was just really casual. It was like, "Hey, we're just like kind of friends, whatever." And then there
Yeah.
was one day where she asked me out, and I
Nice.
was like, "Hey, we can go to this thing that I'm going to with friends." Like, so she took that as a
Yeah.
rejection, and I was like, "No, I just to hang out." Like, and
Yeah.
then we were talking much more and more and more, and then there was one night where her family came back from like they had like a family member go to the hospital for something really serious, and that family member is
Mhm.
okay now. Um, but um, they came back in town, and I was like, "Hey, do you want me to like hang out with you or something going through this?" And she was like, "That would actually be great." And sometimes I'm really bad with the time management like this because in that same night I had to like pick up my brother from a marching band thing, and
Yeah.
then drop him off at my house that was 20 minutes away, and I had to drive another 20 minutes, and like I did a giant triangle of like
Oh,
driving
man.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I finally got to her house, and then we were like hanging and talking and all that kind of stuff. And then by the end of the night, we were both like, "Hey, dude." I even asked her like really silly. I was like, "Hey, this is gonna sound like a total seventh grader right now, but would you like to be my girlfriend?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "I guess that'd be
I guess that would be
okay."
okay.
Yeah, that's fine. And then we were dating and everything was cool, but I did tell her like on one condition. I was like, "Hey, I am joining the Navy. That is not going to change. And
Yeah.
if you try to talk me out of it, is instantly over between us."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah, cool, sounds good."
Yeah.
And we were dating, and I want to say it was like 6 weeks later that I knew she was going to be my wife. And that was something that I wrestled with the Lord a lot because I thought I thought you were supposed to get these giant confirmations about things before you made a
Yeah.
decision. And I prayed on it, and I prayed on it, and I never had some like serious like boom, yes. But I waited and waited, and then finally I was like, you know what? I love her. She's everything I've looked for and I wanted. And mind you, I was only 20 years old, so that I didn't live a whole lot of life, but it was everything I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
But everything seemed easy. That's the thing, is like between us is everything seems so easy.
Yeah.
How to talk to each other, and like and that was one thing I told myself a long time ago. I was like, I will never pretend to be anybody. I'll never pretend to be like anybody. I'll just be myself, and if they can't accept that, then I'll
Yeah.
move on. And she accepted it, and then it was like 4 months later I proposed, and she said yes, and then we were engaged. And then came May of 2017, May 1st actually. Her birthday is on April 30th, so we celebrated her birthday, and the very next day I shipped out for boot camp.
Wow.
Yeah, and that day before was so brutal. Like we were so sad, and everything was terrible, and
Yeah.
but it was also so exciting because I was like, oh, everything's gonna change. Like, nothing will ever be the same ever again.
Yeah.
And when I shipped out and went, I was like really beat up about it all the way. Like I had to do 2 flights, to get to Chicago. And when I got there, it was like as soon as I got on the bus, I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
And
Let's
I
do
just
this.
and that first night was wild. It was wild. And I don't know if it's the same nowadays because that was almost 10 years ago. Um,
Yeah.
but they keep you up pretty much all night. Actually, they do definitely keep you up all night and the next day. And it was
Jeez.
a whole lot of like really weird and specific instructions.
Yeah.
Like grab your bag and put it behind you.
Oh,
And
wow.
then people would mess that up. And then they'd get yelled at and all that kind of stuff. Um,
Because you're probably so
but
nervous and you're sleep deprived and you just were on all these flights. So, yeah, you're not
oh, you
thinking
can't.
clearly.
Yeah. They told us we had 60 seconds to use our phones and call home and let them know that we got there safely.
Wow.
And they're like, hey, it's 60 seconds. And I got done with my phone call with Michaela. And she told me later on, she was like, oh, it was like 12 seconds.
You're like,
Like,
I have to say this really fast.
yeah. I was like, here I am. I'm okay. Everything's good. And anyway, so bye. Yeah. But yeah, they kept us up all night and all that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, I went through 8 weeks of boot camp. And there's probably a whole hour and a half, 2 hours I could talk just about that.
Yeah.
But I got through with that. I got through with school afterwards. And then came home and me and Michaela got married. And then one of the things that we laugh about now is like, so I was 21 and she was 18. So we got married very young.
Yeah.
And um, one thing that's really funny is like when in that period of time when I came home on leave, it was I got married, I bought a car, we packed up all of our stuff into a Penske, and we drove from Luling, Texas to Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh my gosh.
And I
And you
look
had
back on
just
that
met
now.
her like what, 8 months before then,
Yeah, it
right?
hadn't even been a year that we've known
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
So it was like, send it. Let's go out into the world and figure it out. And we um we look back on it now and I tell my dad, I'm like, what were you doing? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, I look at my kids now and I'm like, I would never let them do something like that. That's wild. And I had a trailer with the car on it too. So it's like
Yeah.
try all kinds of new stuff in one trip.
Yes.
And
In 1 year.
and
Yeah.
in 1 year, yeah. And I was like, how did you let me do that? And he was just like, hey man, it's just one of those things you just got to give up to the Lord sometimes because like
Yeah.
I didn't like any of it. And I was like, I don't like it now looking back on it.
Yeah. Well, you were grown.
But
I mean, I think he probably knew that there was nothing he could do at that point.
yeah, that's a awkward place to be. But yeah,
Yeah.
we pulled it off. We got there, and then I went on my first ship, and I learned a lot about myself, a lot about the Navy just on the first ship. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like going into a job that you get training for, but you go in there and you're just so lost because everything came at you in the last few months so fast. And
Yeah.
mind you, too, so when I was joining, they had only one job for me, which was, hey, we want you to be a packed fireman. I was like, what is
Mm,
that? And they're like, oh, you get to try all the engineering rates, and then you get to pick one, and that'll be your rate. The rate is a job.
okay.
And I was like, okay, what else do you have? And they're like, I just told you. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's what you're
And
doing.
so, but in that moment when I was signing that contract, I did feel that nudge that's like, yeah, go. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay. So I sent it. And then I remember me and my dad were talking about it. And he was like, hey, I just looked up your job. You need to get out of that as fast as possible. And I was like, what's wrong with this? He's like, oh, you're going to be in like bilges and you're going to be like taking trash out all the time. And you're going to be doing a lot of like grunt work. And I was like, okay. And I was like, what's a bilge? And I know this now. A bilge is a part in the engineering space where all the water or any like anything from the space kind of leaks down to like a little trough at the bottom
Okay.
of the space. So you're standing on deck plates, and then below that's like a little. It's just a bilge. It's just like a little area for stuff to collect in case anything happens. So if there was like a flooding,
Yeah.
water could collect down there, and you could still operate
Okay.
the room and stop the flooding and stuff.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he was like, "You're gonna be cleaning bilges. You're gonna be doing all this stuff." And I was like, "Ah, okay." And when me and Michaela were dating, I had a call from the crew. It's like, hey, we have a job for you. You can be a master at arms. I was like, what's that? He's like, it's a cop. And I was like, no thanks.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just wait. And I went to boot camp as a packed fireman. It's an undesignated, it's an open contract. You're just in engineering. So when I
Yeah.
got to my ship, it was like I had training from boot camp and then 3 weeks of engineering training that was very basic.
Mhm.
And then I got to the ship and they were like, hey, go check all the flange shields and go check the tags and do a tag out audit and do all this. And I'm like, what is that? What is that? What is that? I was so confused.
Oh, man.
Um, and they talk about it at school, but I just like there was time passed between it. So I wasn't really like fully grasping it yet. So I took a lot of
Yeah.
learning. Um, and there was a lot of times when I was on the ship because I had two first class petty officers. They're E6s and I was an E3 at the time. And they were
Mm.
charging me and they were really tough on me all the time. Like I couldn't get
Mm.
away with anything. They knew exactly what I would do, and then I would always mess up all the time. And yeah, but I didn't know that the whole time they were grooming me
Mm.
to be better, and I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
They would tell you that, but it's like you don't believe it
Yeah.
because you're like
You just think
whatever,
they're
bro.
just attacking you. Yeah, for no
That's
reason.
what it felt like, and that's the funny thing is when I was done with that ship, I learned a lot of stuff, and I was so glad to leave. And in that contract, it says once you strike a rate, and I struck machinist mate because I was working with machinist mate, so I decided that's what
Yeah.
I was going to do. And once I struck that, they gave me two options. You can either finish out your contract, whatever, get out in 2021, or you can extend your contract to 2023 and you get to go to air conditioning and refrigeration school, auxiliary technician school. And I was like, I'll take that option. And then
Yeah.
when I signed that contract, I found out after I signed it
Oh,
that I
no.
was going to Spain.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even know we had anything out in Spain, so that's neat. And I told Mikhail, like, how do you feel about going to Spain? She was like, oh, that'd be kind of
Cause
cool. I was like, okay, so we're
because
going
we're
next like
going.
year. Yeah, we're going next year. And she was like, oh. And yeah, and if she was in the room right now, she'd be like, mind you, he just signed it and didn't talk to me about it. And that's true. Yeah, I just kind of like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I want to pick up because the deal was you do these schools, you go to this place, and you get to pick up E4 like automatic. So I was like,
Yeah.
yes, I want to
Which
do
is
that.
your which is a rank, right? Like in the
That's the
Navy.
rank, yeah.
E4.
So
Yeah.
I was a E3 fireman. In engineering, it's you're a fireman.
Yeah.
And then when I put on E4, I was an MM3,
Okay.
a machinist mate third class, petty officer.
Yeah.
So did all that stuff, and then I went to my second ship, and I actually picked up E5 in school 6 months later. So I was only an E4 for like 6 months,
Yeah.
and I was an E5 all of a sudden. I was an MM2, and I was like, oh, geez,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ready for that. And you'll see that's a theme out of my career is like I picked up E5 super fast, and then went to my second ship and did like a whole year there. And my first evaluation I got was like number 5 in the command. And when you get a high eval like that, you can put in a request to take your next exam early
Oh,
because you're
okay.
supposed to do time and rank, time and rate kind of a thing. And
Yeah.
when I picked up E5, I was supposed to wait like I want to say 2 or 3 years or something like that before I could take the E6 exam.
Yeah.
So I applied to take it a year early, and they approved it. So I got to take the E6 exam like the end of 2020. Yeah, the end of 2021,
Okay.
and then I did it, and then the what you call it, the quotas came out. And it was saying that it was like an 8% chance. So
Oh.
out of all of machinist mates second classes that took the E5 or the E6 exam, 8% of all those people would make it.
Okay. Wow.
So I was like, I ain't got no shot. No
Yeah.
way. But then I picked up.
That's
And then
crazy.
yeah, so I was in for a total of 4.5 years. And I went from being a undesignated fireman to a first class machinist mate.
That's crazy.
And I was what, 25?
Yeah.
Something like that. Like, yeah, I was 25. And, they immediately were like, all right, we want you to take over the division. You're going to be the leading petty officer. You're going to be
Wow.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And everything in the Navy at that point leading up there was just like, hey, you show up to work and you're at the mercy of the Navy and you're at the
Yeah.
mercy of what the ship wants you to do. And so you
Yeah.
have all kinds of things that fall on your plate and you get things done. And then you get to like hang out with the buddies afterwards and talk during
Yeah.
work and have a good time and build that camaraderie and stuff. And then once you get to that point where you're like, all right, you're in upper leadership now,
Yeah.
everything was different
Yeah. Yeah, because I
because
remember you saying, like, you you didn't like it almost until that point when you finally moved up, and then you're like, "Okay,
that's it's interesting too because like it's kind of backwards and not backwards at the same time where it's like I used to not like what I was doing.
yeah.
And then when I put on leadership responsibilities, I miss what I was doing because it was like, oh, this
Oh,
is so much
gotcha."
easier. And
Right.
then, but now I do love what I'm doing too because there's nothing like teaching people and mentoring and things like that.
Yeah.
And believe you me, I'm not like the poster boy for like, oh, I'm a great leader, great mentor, all that stuff. I love those opportunities. And I will
Mhm.
say right now with full confidence, my first time I was a leading petty officer, it was a lot of struggle.
Mm.
I, I I did not know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And the
Well, yeah,
worst
you were
part
new
of
to
that,
it. Yeah.
yeah. So the worst part of the not knowing what I was doing is if I was more honest about that, I think it would have been a lot easier.
Mm.
But what I thought I had to do was I had to put on this persona of like, oh, I am already have it squared away
Yeah.
because I have the rank that shows it, so I have to be good. But then like secretly I'm like, I don't want people to know how little I know,
Yeah.
comparatively speaking to some people. And yeah, there was a lot of decisions I made that, I regret now. And there's a lot of things that happened on that tour that I wish I could try again,
Mm.
but I can't. And that
Yeah.
was something that actually messed with me for a really long time. And mind you, by this point in my career, it was like I was really stressed out all the time. I
Yeah.
had tons of things going on in my head, and then when I get home and I would talk to my wife about it, she doesn't know what it's like,
Yeah.
so she didn't know what to do. And then
Mhm.
I just kind of spiraled into this like anxious, depressed kind of thing. And it's not to say like, oh, the Navy does this to you. It's just I didn't know how to handle a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And in this point in my life, I wasn't close with God at all. I had kind of stopped everything,
Yeah.
relationship, reading, everything. I just avoided it. I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And part of that has to come from there was just a weird point where I didn't like what the church was doing. I didn't like a lot of the memories I had looking back on church. And it's not to throw a lot of shade at churches now or anything like that, but it's just like where I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and it was getting close to the end of my tour on that ship, and then I would start shore duty. And in the Navy, you get sea duty and shore duty depending on your rate. Depends on how much sea you have to do and how much shore. And for me, it's about 5 to 6 years at sea, and then 3 years ashore.
Okay.
And I was coming close on like doing shore duty,
Yeah.
and I don't know what happened exactly, what kind of made this happen to me, but there was one point I was in my rack, which is my bed
Mhm.
on the ship, and I was just like in my rack, and I remember just sitting there thinking about the Lord, and then I had this like little quick little snippet vision, and it's not anything crazy like I saw it was just in my head that I saw like me playing music again, me going to church
Mm.
again, and then I remember feeling like, man, what happened?
Mm.
And then I realized then it was so like powerful. I realized then I was like, God has been with me this whole time,
Yeah.
and I'm the only one that hasn't been with Him. And
Mm.
then it just was so much more real than I ever felt before. Just like it was like a true revelation of like, oh, He is with me, and He does love me, and He does forgive me. And it's like, wow. And I started coming back from then on, from that point on. And then when we moved here, we're in Rhode Island now. We moved here. I told Michaela, I was like, hey, I want to start going back to church.
Yeah.
And not because it's like the answer or anything, but it's like I want to get
Oh,
surrounded
sure.
by that again.
You need that
And
community. Yeah.
yeah, I wanted community again, and I wanted to feel that. And then she was like, yeah, okay. And then we went to some church here, and it was like the minute we walked through the door, I was like, wow, this is nice. Like I feel welcomed, and it didn't feel superficial. It didn't feel like they have to do it to get a number, or they have to do it because it's like
Right.
whatever. It wasn't like a business feel. It was literally just
Yeah.
this older lady that came up to her. Her name was Grace, and she came up to us and she was like, "Where are you guys from?" And I was like, "Well, we're originally from Texas, but we lived in Jacksonville and in Spain, and now we're here." And then she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, are you military?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, we have a lot of military coming through here." I was like, "Oh, okay,
That's
cool."
cool.
And she just talked to us and stuff, and it's like, "Yeah, we're just trying to find a church. We don't know where we're gonna go yet." And she was like, "Try a bunch. Well, like go around." And I know there's plenty of churches around here. But then we got done with that service and
Mm.
everything, and then we got in the car and was like, "I like that place. Let's go
Mm.
back." And then that's where we've been going for the last like 3 years.
That's awesome.
And then I slowly got into the worship team. Like I wasn't going to insert myself. I was just like
Yeah.
hanging back. And then I think there was one point they said in the service, like, "Hey, if anybody can like play, come talk to the worship leader." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." So I walked up and I was like, "Hey," I actually had to bring Michaela with me because I was like nervous.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, like I can play." She's like, "What do you play?" I was like, "Whatever you need."
Pretty
I
much
could play
everything.
drums, I could play guitar, I could play bass. And
Yeah.
then I was actually gonna avoid the singing part because I was like, eh. And Mikhail was like, he can sing, and I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I can. And so, and then I started getting back into worship music again, and doing all that, and then it's just, I want to say it was actually like this last year or so, I just fully was like, I'm not committing. I'm not actually surrendering my life, and I want to do that. And then this year, I was like, I want to actually surrender my life to
Mm.
Christ, and that's been the best experience ever. Just like actually surrendering your life,
Yeah.
and it's been and like all that in a 30-minute span of talking about my career leading up to this moment. And also in the
Yeah.
past couple of years, I've had two kids.
Yeah.
Um, So we're a family of four now, and just seeing like where I've been taken from in the beginning to now, and then even just recently in my career, I applied last year to be an officer, and then we were supposed to leave in February of this year to go to San Diego, and then the week before I
Mm.
was supposed to leave, they told me that I picked up on that. Like they were like, "Hey, you're gonna be an officer," and I
Wow.
was like, "What?" And then I found out that I had to stop the moving truck. No, we weren't moving to San Diego. And then I'm right back into that waiting period again
Yeah.
of, hey, there's something big in the horizon, but I have to wait here for a while. And it's like, it's painful. And like we had our son in this time of waiting, and it's been wonderful having a whole family now, but it's still just like can't get too comfortable yet because it's going to change.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
bet that's
been
really
the,
hard to, like, even commit to anything because you just never really know what your life's gonna look like in a year or 2, you know?
yeah, I mean, I remember feeling this way before I went on my second ship going to Spain. I had no idea what to expect,
Yeah.
but, and God has an interesting way of talking to you about things that have happened to you. And like, there's many instances of like, I don't know if this was the right decision. And then I found out later it was.
Yeah.
Like, um, saying yes to that undesignated fireman thing. I didn't know
Yeah.
if that was the right decision, but then here I am.
Yeah.
There was there was like, I don't know if I made the right decision extending my contract because I was originally going to be that one and done kind of person instead of making this my career. And I didn't know if that was going to be a good decision. And then there was one point, like when I was in school in San Diego for 6 months before I went to my second tour, I was in this one hotel room that they had on base. It was like the Navy's hotel.
Mhm.
And I was there for school, and I was in that room for a long time. And then I left there, went to Spain, then came back to this place, and then we had to do something for our students here at the schoolhouse where we go out to San Diego and show them their ships and show them all the stuff around the waterfront. And then I had to stay in a hotel. And then what do you know? I'm staying in that exact same room that I
Wow.
was in for school, almost like exactly 3 years later. It was
That's
actually more like
crazy.
4 years later. And like sitting in there and being like, wow, I had no idea what was coming at me the last
Yeah.
time I was in this room. And now I can like revisit that moment and be like, that's insane.
Yeah.
So that's one of those like confirmation.
Yeah.
And like I said before, like I didn't know when I was going to get married to Michaela, I didn't know if that was like the right decision or not. I didn't have any direct confirmation, but I can tell you now, 10 years later, it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone recently about this that God gives confirmation later, at least to me. That's what
Yeah.
I've noticed. Is it's been something happens and then later on there's confirmation about it.
Yeah.
Because I always wanted like a confirmation and then make the decision.
Right. I wanna know for sure this is what I'm supposed to do before I take that
Yeah,
step. Yeah.
but then you find out later, like, oh, this makes sense now.
Yeah.
Um, and then one of them too is like I was up for E7 for chief, and I
Mm.
didn't pick up the first time, and I didn't pick up the second time. And so when I put in this officer package, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna pick this up because haven't picked up the last couple things. So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
like I'm submitting it for continuity and like to get that train rolling. And then when I got selected for it, everything makes sense to me that like, oh, that may have been why I didn't make chief. This may have
Yeah.
been the plan. And that
Yeah.
makes sense to me now. It was painful not getting that rank for the last couple of years, but
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. When it's like you can see the reason in the delay and the reason in the rejection. You know, like in the moment, you're like all bummed out about it. And then years later, you can look back and be like, okay, God was working. I was stressing out, but God was at work and it was all going to be okay.
Yeah, and in my head, in my mind, there was no reason I shouldn't have made chief.
Yeah.
From my point of view, I've done everything right. There's no reason I shouldn't. Right. And they do a board and they select these people, and I know it's fair, and I know it's very controlled. It's not just like a couple people get in a room and be like
Sure.
these people and that's it. It's very controlled. and I know
Yeah.
that. So I know that they don't just see my name, they're like, "Whatever, not that guy." It's not
Yeah.
like that, I know that for sure,
We
and
don't like him. No.
but it was like, from my point of view, it's like, "Man, I have everything that you need to make chief. Why am I not there yet?"
Yeah.
And and well, like, even the first time I didn't make it, it was I would have had to go through their chief season while my firstborn was gonna be born,
Mm,
and I was like, "I don't know how I'm gonna juggle that." But then I
yeah.
didn't make it, and I didn't have to worry about it, and I was happy about that situation. I was like, "Great, I can just focus on having a baby."
Yeah.
And then the second year came around, and I was like, "All right, this is my last, try at this command, and it would be nice to make it here." And then I didn't, and that one actually crushed me,
Mm,
like, really crushed me. I was like, and then when someone goes through something like this, the point of view is gonna be like, "What's the point? Like,
yeah.
I did all this work, I suffered so much, what's the point?" If you're gonna
Yeah.
do all that and then still not reap the benefits, like, why even keep going?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I had to take a little pity party there for a while, like, just, like, really bummed out. I think I took some time off and just did everything to get my mind off it, and then when it was time to start getting up and moving again, I always find that, like, when something like that happens, it's like, "Okay, what can I do in the meantime?
Yeah.
What can I do in the meantime?" There's gotta be some sort of goal, there's gotta be something I can always work on. There's gotta be something that's not like necessarily missing from my record to help me get rank. It's more like, what do I need to work on myself? I need something to do to move forward.
Yeah.
And so I started doing a couple different things, like new qualification I didn't have, and working on helping other people out get to a good place. And then I also I had this thing come up where you can be instructor of the year,
Oh, okay.
and I decided to throw in my name in the hat for that. I was like, I'm gonna write the package, I'm gonna put it in there, and I ended up getting picked for it. They were like, "Yep, I was
That's
instructor of the
so
year,"
cool.
and the year prior to that, I was sailor of the year. And so I've done a lot of things that were like, "Oh, it's perfect." Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason why this guy's not good. But I was just doing the next thing. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And I had great mentors here at this command, especially, to kind of walk me through um, a lot of things to work on too. So it
That's
was really
cool.
good there.
Well, I love
But
that part, what you said, like just doing the next thing, because I feel like that can apply to everyone's life, regardless of what job you're doing or what you're waiting on. Just like do what's in front of you until the thing you're striving for happens or until something else comes along, you know? Don't just sit and be idle and stay in that space forever. Just like, okay, what is in front of me right now?
yeah, I mean, I had one guy way back he was a third class petty officer, and he was even saying something along the lines of like, "Well, if they made me a second class, then I'd probably do more stuff."
Mm,
And I was like, "That doesn't make any sense to me."
yeah.
Because, like, I didn't ever have the intention of doing things to make the next pay grade, honestly, until I made first class petty officer. Then I was like, from that day forward, I dedicated everything to make chief. And
Yeah.
then it's funny that, like, all that led to me never making chief. And it's like,
Yeah.
once I do this in my career, I will never have it'll never happen. So it's just funny to me that it's like that's what it looked like for me, striving to do everything just to get the thing. Like, you may get the thing someday, or maybe not, but then it's like, what is your real effort? What are
Yeah.
you really trying to do? And even now, I did make the thing I applied for. I'm going to be an officer,
Yeah.
but I still ask myself, like, what can I do in the meantime?
Yeah.
Because I still have to wait, and it's not like you can just sit back and just like, oh nope, I won, so now I'm just going to sit and hang out and do nothing. Because that's not the
Yeah.
kind of person I am. I can't just sit around. So
Yeah.
I I'm on paternal leave, hence the beard, because this doesn't fly in regular day to day.
Yeah.
Um, but like, I'm on paternal leave and I'm hanging out with my family, and
Yeah.
Because I know like coming up in the future, I'm not really going to have as much opportunity in my first few years in this new turn of my career. It's going to be a lot of like busy parts and me focusing on my career. Um, so I'm just trying to appreciate the time I have now. And then on the other hand, it's like, okay, what else is out there? And one
Yeah.
thing for me that I really want to do coming up for my commissioning date in December is I want to lose some weight.
Okay.
And that was something I was like, I want to make that a serious goal again. And I've lost weight several times in my life. Um, and I know what to do, what it looks like. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna give myself like 12 weeks to kind of really work on it. And it's not anything like I'm on a certain diet or I'm on a whatever. It's just like, hey, just be a little bit more conscious and then go to the gym often. Because the thing that
Yeah.
drove me nuts for a while was like, man, we have a free gym membership in the
Yeah.
military. We have a free gym membership, like a whole giant facility, and it's totally free.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's tax dollars for sure. Yeah, I know that. But it's like,
Sure.
we don't have to pay a membership. There it is. It's free. So it's like, why aren't you using it?
Yeah.
And I always beat myself up for it in those times that it wasn't working out. It's like, dude, it's always available. Why aren't you doing it? And
Yeah.
I got into a lot of weight loss um, last year where, and this was even before the Secretary of War came out with like new standards and all that kind of stuff for armed forces to like be in better shape and top physical condition and all that. I just one day it hit me that I was like, it's part of my job. I need to be in shape,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I lost like 50 pounds over the course of last year, where I was like 261 pounds, dropped all the way down to like 213 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I've had a couple injuries that's held me back a little bit, a shoulder separation and a knee injury. But I'm going back into it again. I'm a lot more healed up and getting my consistency back and stuff like that. So that's the
Yeah.
thing that I'm working on next is I want to get that done. And I think setting goals is one of the more important things that we can do in our life because
Hmm.
it just makes you drive more towards something.
That's
And
true.
throughout my career, like when I was on my first ship, it was like, what's the thing I need to get while I'm here? And it was like a
Yeah.
couple qualifications that said they are cool. And then I got through school, and then I was like, obviously the goal is to finish school. And
Yeah.
when I got my second ship, I walked on that ship and I was like, I want to be a first class petty officer, and I want to be qualified in engineering officer of the watch,
Mm.
which that's the top qual in engineering.
Yeah.
It's the pinnacle. And I walked on that ship and I was like, well, I'll have some things that roll over because those two ships are kind of similar. They're different platforms, but they're similar in what they have.
Mhm.
Nope, they started me from the bottom. They said, nope, you're going to start over. And I was like, okay.
Oh, man.
So I had to go start from all these like watch standing qualifications, all these other qualifications outside of watch standing. And it it was like, hey, this patrol, because we had to go on 4-month patrols overseas. I was like,
Mm.
this patrol, I want to get this, this, and this. So that's what I would do. I would set out to go do those things. And by the time patrol was over, I was like, okay, what did I get? This, and that. Okay, I'm on track, or I'm falling behind. I'm getting lazy or something. And then it was like 6 months out from my rotation date. I came up to my what is it? The departmental leading chief petty officer. He's a senior chief, E8. I walked up to
Mm.
him and was like, hey, I'd like to do my murder board. And a murder board's like a bunch of people in a room that are already qualified are essentially just going to beat you up a little bit. Not literally. They're just going to like ask you a whole bunch of crazy questions that you have to answer to see what you know,
Yeah.
because they do that. So, because this is a qualification that you had to go up and see the commanding officer,
Okay.
and he would ask you questions.
Okay.
And I say he because mine was a he. Um,
Yeah.
and so I went through that murder board, and I was like, I did pretty good. Like I only have like a couple things I didn't know, but I did pretty good. And then my leading chief petty officer, or like the departmental, we call him top snipe. and
Yeah.
because a snipe is a term for engineers in the Navy, and
Okay.
but we call him top snipe. And he came up to me and he was just like, "No, you did terrible. So yeah, I'll maybe redo this some other time."
Oh
But then another
no.
guy came up to me. No, another guy came up to me and he was like, "Dude,
Oh,
I was listening to you answer some questions, and I had the book with me when you were answering these questions, and you were almost like word for word."
wow.
I was like, "I know, yeah, I know. I knew my stuff. Like I know."
Yeah.
And so when he said that, I was like, "Whatever. Like I already know
He's
I'm
just
squared away."
messing with you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I went up to see the captain, and I got that done. And then the other part of setting goals, and then when you get them, it's weird when you've like set a whole bunch of goals and then you pretty much get them all done.
Mm.
Then it's like, what now?
Yeah, you kinda run out of things to
And
work for. Yeah.
that was an awkward period when I was like, I'm finished. There's
Yeah.
nothing else I can do here. And I found in those times you could still work on other stuff, but it's a lot about like I wanted to work on myself. Like I wanted to get into reading a little bit more, and then a couple other things that I was working on, and then I started doing those. Um,
Yeah.
Work on my marriage and all kinds of stuff like that. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think goals are really important to set so that way you
Yeah.
have something to drive towards. Even if even if you've gotten beaten down with something, like for me example, it was like I didn't get chief and that hurt me, and I could have rolled over and
Yeah.
quit trying, and then where would that have got me? Probably nowhere.
Yeah.
um and it's just like one of those things where it's like you need to push yourself into a direction, otherwise you're stagnant and you'll never move.
That's true. Yeah.
And from what I fully believe now is if you just have a good attitude and you pursue anything, I believe that God will reward your efforts for sure. Because especially
Yeah.
if it's something good and
Yeah.
you're pursuing it and to better your life and others people's lives too. Like my family
Yeah.
got benefited from the work I put into the Navy, and I've had a couple people, I'm not gonna say a whole bunch of people, but a couple people ask me questions on like what I did in my career to get to my point. And I just kind of break down some things. And I remember talking to young sailors on my ship, and they're like, "How did you get to where you're at now?"
Mm.
Once they found out I was an undesignated fireman to a first
Yeah.
class in 4.5 years, and then I was like brand new engineering officer of the watch qualified, they're like, "How did you get
Yeah.
here?" And I was like, "Just set goals and do them."
Yeah. Work hard. Well, and like you were
And
saying, like, you were working towards chief, and so you're putting in all of this work, ended up not getting chief, but it prepared you to where you're going now as an officer.
yeah,
So,
it
like,
prepared
had
me
you
for
not
something
put in
completely
those
different.
yeah, had you not put in that work and set those goals, you probably would have never got to officer, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
or
mean
at
that's
least
it's
not
a
in that
similar
time.
situation. It's a
Yeah.
similar situation where it's like they're looking to see what you've done in your career, and then based off of that, they will either select you for it or not.
Yeah.
And I I did all the work, and it still got rewarded. It just got rewarded in a way I didn't think it would.
Yeah.
And it was, and I also, here's that confirmation again, because when I was putting in this package originally, I wasn't sure if it was the right thing for me.
Mm.
I didn't think I was good enough. And I was talking to some people, and they're like, "Well, who is good enough then?" And I was like,
Mm.
I don't know, actually." And they're like, "Well, have you done this?" "Yes." "Was it handed to you? Was it a freebie? Was it you didn't have to work for it?" I was like, "No, I had to work really hard for it." And they're like, "Okay, do you know these things about your job?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you think you're good enough?" And I was like, "I don't know, I don't
Yeah.
know, I just can't see myself doing it." But then I prayed
Mm.
about it, and once again, it was one of those things where it's like I didn't get a full blown confirmation. I
Yeah.
just decided to do it. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do it. And worst case scenario with something like this, you just don't get picked up. It's not a big deal.
Right. Right.
And I decided to, oh, all right, I'll pursue that. But then I was teaching a class And so my community is limited duty officer, and there's a lot of limited duty officers out there. And I was teaching primarily limited duty officers.
Mm,
And there was one um, convene where I had three commanders, or two commanders and a lieutenant commander. So O5s and O4, and then like a whole bunch of other, but like I had really top heavy classroom, and they found out that I was going to put in a package.
mm,
And then they came up to me, and I was I was their instructor, and they came up to me and they're like, "Hey, we're going to do your appraisal." And I was like, "Okay." So appraisal is like they sit you down, it's like an interview.
okay.
Um, but I was like, "Okay, yeah, sounds great." And then I was like really nervous because like, "Oh, now it's real. Oh, now it's not just something I'm talking about.
Yeah,
It's like real, real." And then I was going into that appraisal, and I was like, "I don't know if I'm going to say the right stuff, the wrong stuff. I don't know what I'm going to say."
yeah,
But I said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go in there and just be myself 100%.
yeah,
Like I'm just going to be relaxed, and I'm just going to talk as if it's just me instead of anything
yeah,
they want to hear or anything like that." And then sure enough, I got done with that, and they said, "Hey man, you did great." And I was like, "Cool." When I turned in the package in October, I looked at what they said, and it was like, "This guy's awesome." And I was like, "Oh, cool. That's really nice of them."
that's cool.
So it's one of those things where it's like, wow, I there was an opportunity, and then I said I'd be willing to take it, and then there was a lot of open doors about it,
Yeah,
and that was really cool. And the place I made it to was like a pretty great place to do it. And also, this is another thing I've learned about the Lord is I really do feel like a lot of our relationship is like a call and response. Like I'm going
mm,
to give you a real opportunity, or you're going to take it or leave it.
yeah,
And a lot of my career was moments of opportunity, take an opportunity, and it led me to the next place.
yeah,
And then I can
that's
even see
cool.
a lot of the instances in that in my life where it's like opportunity. It took it. It could be something as small as the worship team needed a drummer, and I took that opportunity, or it could
Yeah,
be, hey, put in this package to alter your career completely, and I took that and it changed. So
yeah,
I do feel like a lot of that is call and response, and I think that comes down to, especially when it comes to the faith, when you're talking to people about Christ, is it's like you don't need to go up to random people and talk about it. I don't think that's necessarily the way it should be done, but I think if somebody asks you about it, you should answer.
yeah,
And I think that's like the ultimate truth about it.
yeah, that's cool.
But
That's cool. Yeah, that's I love all of that because I feel like I know you're just like mostly speaking Navy life, but I was just like applying it to things in my life the whole time you're talking. So I just love the fact that the opportunity comes and you're just like, okay, I'm just going to trust you with the outcome. I'm going to submit it. If it flops, it flops. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and trusting God that if that is the wrong thing, He's going to redirect you, just like the whole chief um
mhm.
situation that you're talking about, like God just redirected you, but He couldn't have gotten you to where He wanted you had you not been working towards something, you know so I just love that. But thanks so much for having this conversation, Brent, because I really think that it speaks to a lot of people's lives. um and we may have some people in the military watching as well, but um I just loved seeing you grow throughout those years because we've stayed in touch off and on. Um, and just seeing the growth in your life. I love looking at that and where y'all are at now and your beautiful family. And I still need to see you guys in person. It's been like forever. I don't even know how long. But
Oh gosh,
I
yeah.
just
Like I think the last time we saw each other was probably like 2018 or 2019 or something like that.
yeah, I think you came back to visit. You didn't have any kids, of course, and you came by the church or something, and I didn't even know you were coming, or I don't know. It was like a total like, "Oh, there's Brent."
Yeah.
So, yeah. but
Which
yeah,
is
just
a
thanks
which
to
is a helpful tip for folks out there. Like if you're gonna show up in your old stomping grounds, it kind of makes it easier if you don't announce it because then you don't build people up for disappointment or anything like that. Because if you tell a whole bunch of people you're coming to town, you don't get to see everybody. Someone's bummed out. So if you just show up, then that's cool.
Yeah, yep, that's true. That's true. But yeah, thanks again for joining, and we'll probably have you back on if you're interested at some point. But yeah, thanks for the conversation, and thanks for joining, and I'll be
Yeah,
praying for you guys, and good luck with everything coming. Looks like there's a lot of good things coming y'all's way. So
a lot is gonna get really wild, and
yeah,
I'm just super excited because based off of the things that I've learned from the last 10 years of me doing this stuff,
yeah,
I know that he is truly in control, and it gets you
yeah,
more excited for the second half.
yeah, totally. Yep,
But yeah,
that's so cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
That's so cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and I'm gonna let you guys go. Have a wonderful week, and drop some comments in the comment section if you have any questions for Brent or for me, and we will get back with you. So we'll see you guys later.